Hello, welcome to the Wasting Time podcast. I'm Chris.
And I am Nick. How's it going, buddy?
It's going well. How's things with you?
Not bad. 2 weeks into my 40s, back to work. It's like nothing's changed.
40s aren't so bad, right?
They're not so bad. The first thing I did when I came back to work was boost my pension by another 2%
Oh, very sensible.
before the benefits new year cut off. So there you go.
Yeah.
I
Nicely
was going to
done.
buy myself a nice new watch to commemorate my 40th, which I probably still will do, but no, I've just put more of my salary into my pension. So there you go.
Well, you're a family man. It's a sensible thing to do.
It is, yeah. What's happening in the world of punk rock and pop punk?
Well, let's discuss what we've been listening to recently. So, still been listening to that Keep Flying track a fair bit. I think that's really good. I love that the singer Henry did a little thing on TikTok where he was reacting to listening to us talking about that on the last episode. So that was fun.
Oh, that's very cool.
Big love to them still.
Yeah, it's popping up on my on repeat.
Nice.
The lazy on repeat playlist that you always go to when you can't be asked to actually find
when you
something
cut exactly.
And that's definitely in the mix now. Talking about Keep Flying, another band that are in that kind of category of like the Horns with the pop punk kind of punk rock kind of vibe. See, you heard that new Millington track?
I've listened to that a fair bit. I was listening this morning.
It's pretty cool.
Millington are so fun. Yeah.
I don't know why there's not more of that. The punk rock with horns. You've got obviously, the ska world, and I guess Les and Jake kind of are more down the punk rock kind of line, but like the pop punk with the horns, when it was MXPX did it on, was it Heard That Sound on there?
With
Goes Live.
Five Iron Frenzy. Yeah,
like that.
It was really
so
cool.
good. Yeah, maybe there's still a little bit of a gap in the market to go in harder on
yeah,
that.
you think there'd be more, definitely.
Cool. So yeah, go check that out. Millington, I think it's called Landslide. Got a really, really cool single.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's part of
Agreed.
an album release or anything. Do you know?
I don't, I have to say, yeah. But I know they had another single called Radio, I think, not that long before that, which is fun as well.
What else is on your radar?
Been listening to this artist called Walwyn, which is Walwin. It's the guy's surname. He's called Arthur Walwyn. He's a British singer. I think he's based in Australia now, but I've been like diving into his discography recently. He's really cool. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but
No,
I'll send you some stuff. Doing that kind of very British kind of pop punk emo thing. And what else have I been checking out? That Day to Remember album, the songs I like off it, at least I've been listening to still.
Okay. I haven't actually, I didn't manage to get on to the
the link that we got sent?
Yeah, because obviously we got an advance of the album. I've listened to the ones that are already released. But I didn't manage to get logged in to listen to the unreleased stuff yet. So I know you're a big advocate of a song on there, so.
Some of it, yeah.
Okay, cool. Propagandy making a play again. Obviously, previous guest of ours. They're due to release a new album.
I saw that.
May released a song. Have you heard the song? I mean,
I have not. I'm not huge on them. Obviously they interest me, and it was great to talk to them on the show. And I'm always interested in what they're doing.
You might like this track. Have you
really?
heard it? It's called That Piece.
I'm gonna save it now, so I'll listen to it later.
Maybe not. I don't know. I'm on. You be the judge, but
okay,
might be a bit more down your lane a little bit.
But you're liking it, are you?
Yeah. I mean, I've only listened to it once, basically. So
okay,
needs a bit more attention. But on first listen, it's good track. Really well produced. I don't know who they're working with or if it's self-produced or what, but it sounds good.
Okay.
What else did I see? I haven't listened to it yet, but I saw Spitalfield. Were you a fan of them back in the day?
Not massively. They're okay. Wishing Upon a Star or whatever. California, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Yeah. A few good songs.
I've seen them live before and stuff. Yeah.
Have you?
Victory Records.
They've released a new song. I haven't heard it yet. It's just Jason over at Course FM's posted it, so I'll check in on that. Okay, cool. Anything else?
In terms of music, I think that's kind of it for the minute. I saw, do you see Counting Crows and Gaslight Anthem announced they're doing a US tour together?
It's fucking massive as well, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
40 date tour or something,
Is it really?
42 date
I
tour.
mean,
It's
I didn't
huge.
really look at the dates because it's not really relevant to us being over here, but
Well,
that's cool.
I just saw the tour poster and like it was just like row after row of like states and like cities.
Yeah.
It's an extensive tour. Um, but they are coming to the UK as well, aren't they? Not with Gaslight Anthem.
What Counting Crows are.
Yeah, they've got about like 10 dates in the UK, I think. So they're doing a half decent tour over here. They're doing Newcastle actually. So
Okay. Have you ever seen them before?
no, like I had an opportunity. I was offered a ticket for like Manchester when they did like Arena in Manchester,
Yeah.
like I don't know, like a few years ago. But I turned it down.
Yeah, it's fun. No, I haven't, but I think it was James who used to co-host the show because he works at BMG. He because I guess they were working with them. He had tickets for their Hammersmith show and asked if I wanted to go along, and I was. But then he couldn't make it.
But we both turned down
Yeah,
opportunities.
I remember he couldn't make it last minute, and then I didn't want to go by myself, and I couldn't find anyone to take a free Counting Crows
Oh,
ticket.
really?
So I was just like, I'll just leave it, which was a real shame, you know.
That is a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything
Yeah.
else in the live show world at the moment on your radar, like coming up?
No, not really. Well, I mean, in terms of just what I'm going to, I booked a Broadway Calls ticket the other day.
Oh,
Broadway
nice.
Calls singer we had on this show a long time ago, didn't we? But they're playing Kingston, which is near where I live. So looking forward to popping along to that at
That's
Easter.
cool.
And the other concert that I'm going to relatively soon is our guest today.
All right, cool. Is he doing a London show?
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
mean, if there's nothing else that you have to add, maybe we can let that lead into today's thing. Yeah, he's playing in Dalston at the end of this month. So if you're listening to this before the 26th of March, then why not go and see Thomas Ian Nicholas, who is today's guest?
And is he doing at this show? Is he doing like a gig with the band? Is he doing like VIP movie thing?
Yeah, so
You
we
know.
should say if you're not aware already, he is also a film star as well as being a singer, and he's been doing screenings of American Pie, which you'll hear us talk to him about in a second. But no, Nick, I think this one is just a
The
gig.
band.
Yeah, yeah.
Fair enough. Cool. Oh well, here we go then.
I think my lead guitarist is up from that way. I think that's close to York, no?
It's not too far. Yeah,
Yeah.
an hour and a half's drive. Yeah, it's pretty close. Maybe not in England, but yeah, in American terms, that's pretty close, pretty fucking close, isn't it?
It's close to me. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you on that part. I totally logged in yesterday at 11 a.m. and I was like, I wonder where everybody is. And then I looked, I was
shit.
like, oh, Thursday. I don't know what date it is. I just got back from Australia. My
Right.
brain is not operating at full capacity. So if I answer something wrong or like bypass your question, feel free to just answer me again and say, "Hey, dumbass, you skipped the question. What the hell are you talking about?" So
That's all
feel
right,
free to
man.
keep me on track.
Yeah,
Traveling from Australia definitely does that to you. Like it's a different kind of jet lag.
Well, it's time
actually.
travel. It's time travel.
Yeah.
I left on a Monday. I had a 32-hour Monday. It was crazy.
Right. Yeah, of course, because if you're on the West Coast in America, that's like the furthest back in time, and then Australia is pretty much the furthest forward in time. So
Yeah. I left on Monday at 11 a.m. and I arrived on Monday at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I sat on a plane
nice.
for 13 hours and I traveled back in time by 4 hours. It was like I just stalled out.
Yeah. Was the tour successful? Did you have a good
It
time?
was super good. Yeah, it was my first time touring over there.
Yeah.
And it went really, really well. I couldn't be happier. I'm going back again. Well, I can't officially talk about my returns yet. But I might be going back maybe 3 more times this year.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Okay.
3. You want to do that
it went well.
journey 3 more times? That's
Yeah.
that's commitment, right?
I'm basically just like, cool, just mess up my brain. I'm down.
So how long were you out there for? Like how far across Oz were you? Given it's
I mean, I was mainly just in New South Wales and Queensland. I was there for 11 days. My July visit will be for a weekend. So you want to talk about like I might spend more time in the
Dude.
year than I spend
Yeah.
in Australia.
And this most recent run that you've just come off, and was this like a combination of playing music shows and kind of like American Pie screenings? Was it kind of, what was the setup?
Yeah, so I mean, I started this kind of thing in June of last year called American Pie Emo Night. I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of all started. I gotta rewind it because I gotta give the UK credit where credit is due. In 2012, on my first UK tour,
Hmm.
I got hired to do alternative DJ sets because obviously emo night wasn't a thing yet,
Right.
but that's like the original emo night, and it already had been going on there for, a decade, if not longer,
Yeah.
for alternative DJ sets. So I started doing that and augmenting it with tours and, like playing shows and then like, quick, pack up all the shit and then get in a car and like drive to another city in the UK and DJ. And so then when I like, about, I guess what, a few years ago, started doing emo nights around the States. And then all of a sudden it became cool to be a guest DJ at emo night. So now like everyone in every band started doing it. So
Yeah.
it was, more competition. So I was like, screw this, I'll start my own night. So I started American Pie Emo Night. But the elevated part of that is it's 3 in 1. So it's the screening of the movie, my band, and an emo DJ set.
Got it. Okay.
So I'm like a 3-act bill. But then what started happening is people started just wanting like 2 of 3 or just 1 of 3. So that's what Australia was. That's why I'd have a fucking roadmap
Okay.
with like, okay, here's this night gets this one, this night gets these 2, this night gets all 3, this night it's the live show. Yeah, it confused even me. I didn't even know what I was doing on any given night.
Which part do you enjoy of that 3-part night generally? Is there a preference?
I mean, it's certainly easier to drink more beer during the movie than it is while I'm playing a live show. But I don't necessarily know that makes me an entertainer. That just means I get to drink more beer.
Right.
And watch a movie that you've seen probably 1,000 times before, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I'll end, like the last night of the tour, we were in Newcastle, Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get
which apparently is a bit of a strange place from what I've heard. Like,
hey man, it's the hometown, it's the hometown of Silverchair.
Is it?
Yeah,
right.
I actually I got my bass player to go on Instagram and invite Daniel Johns to the show. We didn't hear back from him, but I was like, how cool would that be if the lead singer of Silverchair showed up at my show? So during that night, I had like the VIP meet and greet, and then people got excited. I ended up like basically just doing a VIP meet and greet throughout the entire film.
Okay.
With like the entire room. I was like, finally, like I got to like the second to last scene. I was like, I need to take a break before I do this Q&A. Like, I'll be back.
So film was just a background to just the meet and greets phase.
Well, people were still watching because the night was like filled up, but like it just was like this constant ending line. People would go and I don't know. I wasn't paying attention because I was just talking to folks. Plus, I have this replica of the book.
Right, yeah.
That my friend made me. So now I take that to these shows, and I'm having people sign it like it's a yearbook, and people are pretty jazzed about that.
That's fun. That's fun. You mentioned it was your bassist who reached out. Sorry, did you say it was your bassist who reached out to the Silverchair bassist? But
well, it was my bassist in Australia that drove from Sydney. So I pick up guys in different countries to jam in my band.
Sorry, that was going to be my question because I heard you on another show talking about a tour you did and who made up your band on that tour, and there was a couple of familiar names. But yeah, I guess just can you give us run through some of the names who are on it? You know, if they're from the scene, if we know them, I guess in the UK or Australia or America.
Yeah, my frat party album, I recorded that with Ryan Seaman on drums,
Yeah.
who was in Falling in Reverse, and I don't
Yeah.
know how
Yeah.
they found me. Now he jams with like Juliana Theory and Mercy Music. Um, but he's been in the scene forever. My best friend Matt Kennedy, who was a founding member of The Graduate and then was in The Dangerous Summer for about 8 years.
Yeah.
He's been probably the longest standing member of my band.
Oh, cool.
He like TM'd a tour for me in 2012, which is how we met. Well, we met before that, but I'm saying that's how we first worked together. And then I brought him into the band, but then the Dangerous Summer sort of stole him from me. So then I would just kind of get him when he was available. So it just, at that point, it became like a revolving door of just, who was available. Like on a recent tour, Ryan and I reached out to Ronnie Ficcaro to like jam bass, which we've done some shows together, and he's now playing in Mammoth with Wolfgang Van Halen. And then in the UK, my guitar player who's from near Newcastle, well, or not so near Newcastle, he lives in Birmingham now. He used to play in a band called Inglorious, and then he's in another band called Vega. But yeah, so it's always just me picking up guys like, or the next tour that I'm doing that starts in London at Victoria in
in
Dalston.
Dalston.
Yeah. I'm gonna have the drummer from Who Saves the Hero backing me up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know those guys.
Yeah. So it's a fun thing because in a different sense, I'm a DIY, musician. So I've never had really a label or a manager or an agent. So I'm always doing it through like word of mouth and things. And I've had some people help me along the way, but it's like when I say I don't have an agent or manager, I don't have someone that's full-time handling all my shit. So it's kind of a cool thing because it makes the experience sort of different. It kind of connects me in different areas. And I really like it. It makes the show sort of different so that I'm always going to do the same thing, but then what's happening around me is kind of different. So if you see me in different countries or cities, the show's a little bit different.
When did that kind of start for you? Like, obviously, you've got a well-known history, kind of an acting career, but when did has the music thing always been a part of you, or is it something that's, that you just explored later in life as a real?
I started acting when I was about 6. I started playing guitar when I was about 14. I recorded my first album when I was 17, but I don't call that my first album because I've destroyed all the copies. And then I did a couple other EPs, and then I finally by like 2008. So this was shit. That makes it like 4 carry the 1. That makes it like 14 years in the making. Is that right? 1994 to 2008 to finally like find my sound that I liked.
Yeah.
And I started touring. And so since 2008, I would say that's like really the start of my, serious music career of doing like 40 to 80 shows a year. But now at this point, I've done like 1,200 shows in 13 countries.
I feel like listening to like the music you were doing in 2008 through to now, like to me, it sounds like it's transitioned a little bit from like the earlier stuff felt like more kind of 90s rock music and it's kind of, I mean, it still is broadly in that genre, I'd say, but it's become a bit more in line with like a lot of the bands you've toured with in recent times and stuff. How's that was that transition like conscious? Because I've heard you talk about influences from back in the day, and you say things like Foo Fighters, and obviously you mentioned Silverchair before. Like, was that more like your kind of lane to start with, and then you found yourself kind of drifting towards the kind of quote unquote emo kind of world, or was that always kind of in your sights?
Yes, all of that. But I will explain.
Please.
When I was growing up, I had my mom's collection of like 70s rock.
Okay.
So I was a huge fan of, especially like 70s rock from the UK. Like I was a huge fan of Led Zeppelin. But I sound obviously nothing like them, but that was just like what I listened to. And then
yeah,
and the Who, And then when I was 14, it was like around the influx of grunge and Nirvana. So that was what got me into it. So the first like albums that I owned was, Nirvana Nevermind and Green Day Dookie. And
Yeah.
so yeah, my first, but again, that was 94. The first album that I did sounded more like Switchfoot because I was heavily influenced by them.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I can hear that.
my stuff wasn't, as well produced. I was still just sort of figuring it out. And again, not having a label or a manager saying, hey, go work with this person. It was just me kind of like closing my eyes and throwing a dart and being like, I'll go this way. And so then by 2008, I finally like got the sound that I wanted, but it was definitely alternative, more mid-tempo alternative. It wasn't a conscious choice of changing because I remember back in 2008, it was this reaction. Oh, you sound so 90s. And I was like, I don't know. This is what I do. Like, I like it. Like, fuck off. And then like 10 years went by and it was like, oh wow, you sound 90s. But there was like I think there was sort of a journey along the way because by the third album, I threw everything in it, including the kitchen sink. I mean, that one had everything in it. We rented a glockenspiel. I mean, we put everything on that album. That was like my quadrophenia. And then I wrote an album with Caleb Turman from Forever the Sickest Kids, which ended up being very indie rock. And that was like sounded like Temper Trap and Atlas Genius and Young the Giant. And then from there, I worked with the bass player from Puddle of Mud, and everything got like really heavy, which is around the time that I first toured in the UK. Because I remember one of my first full band shows, I was backed up by Sam and Dave from Mallory Knox playing bass and drums at the Gloucester Underground Fest. And we were supposed to, me and Matt were over there. The promoter for that tour, I think, is still in jail. I don't know. It was a very crazy tour. And so we ended up meeting Mallory Knox. I like did a guest spot in their music video for Wake Up, one of their first singles. Obviously, they're back together now. And I'm still friends with Mikey and all them. But yeah, so that show was like super heavy. But we still have but we had my first sort of toe in the water of pop punk, which was My Generation was on that EP from 2012 that got into the soundtrack of American Pie. And from there, I did the Frat Party album, which also is the UK's fault because I started doing. Your country is responsible for a lot of my musical journey. I started doing freshers tours, and I remember I did I met this guy over there from Warrington who now lives in Nashville. Good friend of mine who produced my last 9 singles from my quote unquote 6.5 album. I'll explain that later, or maybe I won't. So he introduced me to this agent, and they're like, "Oh, do you want to do freshers tours?" And I was like, "Yeah, it sounds great." They're like, "Yeah, you got to play covers." I was like, "No, I'm not interested." And then they're like, "Well, it's going to be like 2,000 cap rooms with basically like the same production and lighting as an O2 Academy, and they're guaranteed to be sold out because it's Freshers Week." And I was like, "So do I get to pick these covers, or are you going to tell me what they are?" And that's when I incepted picking all my favorite songs from the American Pie soundtrack albums, and I did the Frat Party album. And I think that I sort of got I'm not stuck, but like I sort of stayed in this lane of once I did that, it became so easy to just keep touring and infuse my originals in and amongst that and the ones that were like higher energy. But then I kind of was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Then the world shut down right after a UK tour. You guys are involved in my stories a lot. This is weird. Not that was your fault. That was, you had nothing to do with Wuhan. So I remember I did like 9 singles that were just, eclectic, and I was working with my buddy Johnny virtually. just to like keep myself sane. But working with Taylor Carroll, when he came in and wrote "Tomorrow's Gonna Hurt," I was like, yeah, this is the direction that I've always wanted to be in. I just didn't know it until I was there.
Oh, okay. And it was kind of him that almost put you in that direction. That's the guy. That's the guy from Lit, right?
Yeah, that's the drummer from Lit. I had been friends with him for a couple of years, and I was telling him, I had this license deal on the table from SBAM or Spam Records out of Austria.
Yeah.
After doing their documentary.
That's interesting you say that, because we contacted those guys. Well, they've contacted us about an interview, and we weren't sure how we pronounce them. Is it SBAM or Spam?
Everybody says SBAM. They pronounce it Spam.
Okay.
Sorry. That's good to know for when we speak to them next month. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like whenever I say Spam, all my friends go, "Who?" Because they all say SBAM.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, I called it like a record deal, but it was, it was a record deal light. But when I did that deal with them, I was like, okay, I'm going to look for a producer. So I was trying to decide between working with Brian Virtue, who had engineered a lot of my previous records, and kind of staying in like the same sort of realm that I was. I was also talking to Linus, who produces a lot of Bowling for Soup stuff. And I had done 1999 with Jarrett and Linus, mixed that one, and I was really happy with it. And then as I was talking to Taylor about it, he goes, "Oh, give me a crack." And I go, "Wait, I didn't even know you produced music. What are you talking about?" So he said, "Come into the studio. Let's just see if we have a vibe." First day in the studio, within 6 hours, we had "Tomorrow's Gonna Hurt." Like 70% of it was like done that day. And I was like, dude, the gig's yours. Like, there's no question.
You just knew the vibe was there. Yeah, it's funny. We were talking to Tony Lovato not long ago. I think, do you know Tony from Mest? And he was
I know Tony. And Taylor was finishing up production on Mest's album around the same time as mine. So
yeah, he was just talking about the experience of writing with Taylor as well. So yeah, the guy clearly has some songwriting chops on him.
He does. He's a machine. A songwriting, engineering, mixing machine.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the UK like being like such a big kind of contributor and like big part of like the demand for your kind of music kind of endeavors. Like, what do you contribute to that? Is it like, do you think it's part of the American Pie success over in the UK? Did you notice that in the UK at that time? Like, where does that come from for you?
I mean, at this point, I've done nearly 20% of all my shows since 2012 in the UK. So the UK and Illinois are like my two biggest stomping grounds, and they're about the same size. Illinois is like where Chicago is in the States.
Yeah.
And they're, like I said, they're about the same size. But it all kind of started, this is going to sound weird. I saw the Tom Petty documentary and sort of saw how they weren't really successful in the States until they went to Europe. And I had already gone at that point to like Denmark and the Czech Republic and Germany, but it wasn't like, I don't know, the scene wasn't really there for me. Even though the film was successful. So then I just kind of thought, well, so I had it actually dates back. I've never really talked about this, but I remember when I did A Kid in King Arthur's Court. I worked with a lot of English actors. We shot it in Budapest, Hungary. And when I went to do the ADR for the film, because we had filmed the baseball scene at like a old US military base in the UK, and then we did the ADR there. And I remember I just loved London. Like I wanted to move there. And I fell in love with it when I was 14. And I had this idea like, okay, when I'm 18, the engineer had like offered me a job at this studio because I did like 250 ADR lines in 2.5 days. And he was like, dude, if you ever need a job here, like it's yours. And I just like, I don't know, you get told stuff as a kid and it resonates with you. And so I was 14, like for 4 years, I was like, I'm moving to London when I'm 18.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, I booked American Pie. I about I hadn't even had my birthday. I booked American Pie before my 18th birthday, and then we started filming it after I turned 18. So that's what made me stay in the States.
Yeah,
But I had this idea in my mind of like the UK, London, London, London. Like I'd love it. So when I had already toured a little bit in Europe and it didn't like kind of create anything for me, I was like, I got to go to the UK. So that's when I did a Kickstarter campaign in 2012 called the Turn It Up to 11 tour, obviously referencing Spinal Tap.
Of course.
And so that's when I started doing that. But I don't know, since that time, yes, I discovered there was a vast love of American Pie in the UK. And at that time, which maybe not as much now because people don't really watch TV so much, but I swear for 10 years, like American Pie and American Pie 2 played every week on TV2. Right. So as I made friends in the UK, I would get texts every week like, you're on my television again. And then I did things like hit the Deck Festival a couple years in a row in 2014 and 15.
Yeah.
And I remember like being there, people were like, wait, what are you doing here? And then the acceptance of my band, I was like, oh, this is like the right spot for me. Like being in this pop punk crowd and especially in the UK. So that's where I probably feel like I've gotten the most love for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So it just kind of organically happened, I suppose. And then obviously we mentioned before that you're back here again soon, starting off in London. Do you have any, now that you've been, as you say, you've come so many times, do you have any like kind of favorite special cities or spots or anything?
Oh yeah. I mean, don't get like offended, but one of my favorite cities to play in the UK is in Wales. It's a tiny town called Merthyr Tydfil. And no, it's not just because I like to say the name.
I've done a bit of work in Merthyr. Some good
I at least
people
hit Merthyr
there.
once or twice a year. I'll be there. Well, last year I did 3 tours in the UK, and I think this year I'll probably end up doing 3 tours as well. So I'll be there obviously the end of March. There's already a return at the beginning of May, and I can't talk about the one I'm being considered for November. Right. But if I land it, it's going to be awesome.
Nice. So you're back at? You say you're back at the end of March in the UK?
Yeah, the end of March. I've got the first show in London, at the Victoria in Dalston, and then I'm doing 3 shows with the Foo Fighters GB. So we're going to Worksop, Wolverhampton, and Huddersfield, and they're like the biggest like Foo Fighters cover band. So we're doing a co-headline tour together. And then I finish off in Cannock at the station just by myself or with the Stiffmeisters.
Appropriate.
Yeah.
I guess kind of it'd be good to get a bit of insight in terms of like what non Thomas Nicholas band life looks like. What's your average week look like? You're in LA, living in LA now.
I am.
Yeah. You got kids as well, or a kid?
I have 2 kids. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what like the real world looks like for you outside of kind of the band stuff.
I mean, the real world, because I don't have a manager and an agent and a label, is basically me booking all of my own stuff while I'm at home, and then working at night and then getting up to take my kids to school in the morning. So there's not really any downtime for me per se, but I have a good time and my kids are awesome. My son's 13, my daughter's 8. They both play music. My son's following in my footsteps as an actor.
Yeah, he was he in Old?
He was the main kid in the M. Night Shyamalan movie Old.
That's incredible.
He's also in episode 2 of my new TV series that Jarrett's the narrator for. I think you could watch it for like a $5, the whole season for a $5 on Amazon in the UK. It's called Underdeveloped.
What's the premise of that?
That one's like The Office, but we're in a production office and we're all basically inept film producers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Tom Arnold plays our boss. And then, yeah, and I'm obviously a big fan. Well, I'm a big fan of Ricky Gervais's Office, the original.
Never got into the American one so much.
Really. I mean, I understand I love the concept of it. I just, I'm the lone wolf. Everyone's like, what do you mean you like? I'm like, I just like Ricky Gervais's humor.
Is the door open for you from an acting perspective? Like, is there things that come your way? Like, what's your situation from that perspective?
Yeah, I'm filming. I've got a table reading tonight, and then I'm filming a new TV series called A Motel with William Forsythe. So that's my in between Australia and the hot Australia and the snowy Midwest. I'm headed to Kansas City and St. Louis, Missouri, and Indianapolis literally on Tuesday, I think. So yeah, and then what? I don't even remember where I go from there. I think, no, I don't know when I get back. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know who I am.
I mean, like us being a music oriented podcast, I definitely kind of want to keep the focus on your music career, but we do have to talk a bit about your acting career, obviously. At this point, I mean, as you say, you're doing stuff, you've got projects coming up right, left, and center. But to people, I assume you get recognized most for American Pie, and if not American Pie, it's Rookie of the Year. Are those kind of like the two big standouts of your career so far for what you're known for, I assume?
Yeah, I mean, American Pie is obviously, it's a billion-dollar franchise with worldwide success. So that one's definitely the highlight for, Rookie of the Year is only now just getting traction because of the exhibition baseball games that are happening in London with the London Cubs and things like that. But yeah, if I go to Illinois, then I'm close enough to the Cubs, then it becomes way more about Rookie of the Year. I even opened up a Henry's Hot Dogs, a Rookie of the Year themed hot dog.
I saw on your social media. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm doing another visit there in a week or so. And I'm talking to another company about doing a pop-up closer to Chicago. Though my whole concept with that is to bring the Chicago dog to places where it's hard to find it. So I will do a pop-up in Chicago, but that's like taking sand to the beach, There's plenty of Chicago dogs in Chicago. I want to bring Chicago dogs where you can't find them because I love them and I basically just want to eat them. So I want Henry's Hot Dogs to be available everywhere so I can get a hot dog when I want one.
Maybe we should take them to Merthyr Tydfil.
I don't know about getting Vienna beef to another country, but that would be awesome.
Man, I don't think I've seen Rookie of the Year since I saw it at the cinema at the time. So I've no idea how well it's held up. I don't know if you could speak objectively about that, how well it's held up as an early 90s film if someone was to watch it today.
I think that the relationship and because of so I had a meeting with the producer. I was pitching for like a long-awaited sequel to have my son play Henry's son.
Yeah, okay.
Especially when he started following in my footsteps. And this is even before he did the M. Night movie, but he had guest starred on New Girl playing Zoe Deschanel and Jake Johnson's son. And he's in my film Adverse, which, you wouldn't know about that movie. I think we had to choose between a distributor in the UK and Lionsgate in the States.
Okay.
They were fighting over the release date, and we were just coming out of like lockdown. And so, we're coming out of the first lockdown. And so we were just trying to push their date back. So now we ended up not being released in the UK. So, just go and run a VPN and watch it somewhere else, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, so I had pitched the producer of that film, and we were just gearing up to win the World Series. And I said, well, if we lose, then you can still do the sequel. And if we win, then it's art imitating life or life imitating art, because then you'll be coming off this one World Series win, just like the film has. And then they were going to do a reboot without the Cubs, without me. And then Disney bought Fox, and then everything fell apart. So, as far as it holding up, when I was talking to the producer about it, he was talking about how the thing that everyone related to was the single mom played by Amy Morton. And I think that's one of the main differences of why that film still kind of holds up, because you have this very relatable relationship. I mean, shit, in the 90s, it was weird if your parents were still together. You were the anomaly. Everyone's parents were divorced and everyone was being raised by like, one parent. So, in that regard, I think the film still has this different kind of heart than the other baseball films have.
Okay.
Or the kids baseball, because it was 4 in a row. It was Sandlot, Rookie of the Year, Angels in the Outfield, and Little Big League. People are like kind of torn between Sandlot and Rookie of the Year. There's always a fight.
Right. Okay.
I'm me, so I want to win.
Well, what would you say is your kind of the acting work that you're almost kind of proud of, whether it be the big stuff or the small stuff? Like what's
yeah, I mean, I think as far as like drama's always been my forte. So Adverse, though you again haven't seen it because it's not in the UK, is the thing I'm the most proud of as far as a performance and something being like very different and intense and opposite of what you might know me for, especially from the American Pie films. In the other sense, I'm also proud of my work as a producer. So the Underdeveloped, Adverse, as well as the last couple of films before that are all things that I've produced while I was starring in them. And so I do love being on the production side, and I have some other things in development. So there's going to be more on that front, somehow intermixed with the fact that I did 115 shows last year.
Yeah, busy guy, which makes us doubly appreciate the fact that you gave us some time today. On the American Pie aspect, and kind of pivoting this back towards music, obviously the first movie that had a cameo from the guys from Blink, and I think Mutt was on the soundtrack. Were you a Blink fan like prior to being in that film, or did you kind of, I guess they'd had a moment in the States already, so how familiar were you with them at that point?
I wasn't very familiar with them. I remember when we were on set, one of the executives left us a gift in our dressing rooms of a copy of Dude Ranch.
Right.
And basically with a note saying, hey, these guys are going to cameo in the film.
Yeah.
We're going to shoot like a music video, which I don't think they ever used the footage, but they shot a music video of them like performing in that garage.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I've never seen that. I remember the dolly shot and that set, but I've never seen it used anywhere. And then there was the other note was this is gonna be the next Green Day. So obviously I told you I was in Nirvana and Green Day 94.
Yeah.
This is 98, 4 years later. I hadn't really gotten into out of the grunge scene. I was still in that, not really into like pop punk yet. And I remember like I went to set to meet them because I'd already played music. I already recorded my first album, which was just about to come out the next year as well. But yeah, I mean, that introduced me to them was that first copy of Dude Ranch that Universal gave me. But they were on Universal Records. So I was like, of course they're going to say they're going to be the next Green Day. But little did we know,
lo and behold,
and above the state was around the corner.
Yeah, was that literally like the lineup for Enema? I guess was it? When was that filmed versus the release? Must have been pretty close.
Well, this is the weird part about it. So we were shooting because I turned 18 in July, and we started production like shortly after I turned 18, 1998.
Yeah.
So the film didn't come out until 99, but this is why you have this weird sort of thing with Blink. So in the film, Travis Barker is miscredited as the previous drummer. And the version that's in the soundtrack, I believe, is the previous recording with the previous drummer, which is why when they got the license agreement, they miscredited Travis.
Okay.
But then the version that's on Enema of the State has Travis on drums. So the only way to get them, and maybe I'm wrong, but this is my understanding, that our version is what is it? What's the previous drummer's name? No, I feel bad for
Scott Rayner.
Yeah. So I think Scott's on our soundtrack version, but not on the Enema of the State one. Is that right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Because technically speaking, because I remember they were playing this song in like the playback and doing the music video, and I was like, oh, that's weird. Okay, they must have like a new song coming out since Dude Ranch is already out. That makes sense. They were on Universal Records. They're not gonna like promote a song that already had been released. But I was pretty young. I didn't really understand like that aspect of it.
I guess thinking about kind of like collaborations, what would be, let's maybe do like acting and music. Like what would be your like dream collaborations from like an acting perspective and a music perspective? Like there's nothing off the table. Like
okay, well,
who are you picking?
I will pause answering that and tell you a Mark Hoppus story.
Oh, yeah.
That does also involve.
We'll take that, yeah.
One of my collaborations that I would like to have. So I'm half answering it, but I will still come back and fully answer your question. So basically, I ran into Mark at my friend's studio. I want to say it was 2014. We exchanged info. Had like a nice, reconnect moment. And I remember I was about to go and play Glastonbury on, there's 100 stages there. I wasn't on like a main stage. I wasn't even on the poster, but I was like it was like, one of the very side stages. It was the West Holtz bar stage. Or West Holtz stage, bar stage. So like there's like the West Holtz stage where like, George Stone played and like we were like the bar stage. But anyway, I knew that Foo Fighters were headlining the Pyramid stage that year.
Yeah.
So the conversation with Mark was, at the time he had a house in Glastonbury. So the plan was when I was there, I was going to go and hang out with Mark and then meet Dave Grohl.
Wow.
And hang out at Mark's house with Dave Grohl. And I was like, this is amazing. And then that motherfucker had to go and break his leg in Europe and cancel Glastonbury. And that shit didn't happen. And I was super bummed.
Man.
But I did record the Frat Party album at Studio 606. And I have yet to meet Dave, but I did use one of his guitars on the entirety of recording that record. So to answer your question, I would love to collab on a song with Dave Grohl. He's definitely been a big inspiration, and the Foo Fighters have been a big inspiration for a lot of my songs since 2012 for sure. And I think I'm the only guy who was brave or foolish enough to cover the Foo Fighters at the Foo Fighters studio. So I either need some kudos for that, or I owe Dave an apology. I don't know.
What about your acting collab?
I mean, I guess he's retired now, but I always wanted to work with Daniel Day-Lewis. He's a character lead, and that's always aspired to be. Which, if you do get the chance to see Adverse, you'll understand when you see me in that role my aspirations for changing my entire persona, becoming, as unrecognizable as an actor can become.
Okay.
Obviously, clearly, it's them, but changing mannerisms and speech and physicality, that's a fun journey for me. So yeah, I would have loved to have worked with Daniel Day-Lewis.
We should actually quickly touch upon the fact Nick's talking about music collaborations, but your most recent record, you got a couple of cool collaborations on that. Early November for one, who we had on the show very recently. Who else? So there's Less Than Jake, and then obviously your old mate Jarrett. That's
yeah. My friend Jarrett, who's on a semi sold out tour in the UK right now, and is headlining Wembley in December. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's
so
incredible.
Stoked for them. Nobody deserves it more than Jarrett and the boys, man. Jarrett, Rob, and Gary are so awesome. Their whole team is awesome. I love all of them to pieces. I wrote the title track, We're Gonna Be Okay, with Jarrett. And obviously the first song I wrote for the 7th album was Wrong Side with Ace Enders. And I met Ace at Hit the Deck Festival in the UK.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I remember we were there. I think Matt and I were doing an acoustic show opening up for Chris Rowe from the Ataris. And I remember Ace walked by and Matt goes, "Oh shit, that's Ace Enders from the early November." And I go, "Well, let's go say what's up." He's like, "Well, I don't know him." And I'm like, "Who cares?" And I walked right up and we've been friends ever since.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. It wasn't that long ago we chatted to him, was it, Chris?
It was only last month.
Yeah, he was just in town the early November. We're touring over there with Mark Rose supporting, right? From Spitalfield.
That's it.
Yeah. These are all my friends. So
we did have a little feature lined up. Chris, I don't know if there's anything else you want to cover before we get into this.
No, I think we could probably wrap it up with this little thing, as long as Thomas is game.
So basically, we've got we're calling it the American Pie soundtrack's last song standing. So we're going to pitch a bunch of songs from all the American Pie soundtracks, and you've got to pick. Basically, one that stands up at the end, right? So we're going to pitch 2 songs, and you're going to pick one to keep.
It's like a winner stays on. We'll give you 2 songs. You pick which one you prefer each time, and you'll be left with one song.
The one that's left over is your last song standing.
I'm up for it. Sounds good.
Okay, first 2 songs. We've got Bouncing Off the Walls by Sugar Cult versus New Girl by Third Eye Blind.
Oh, Sugar Cult, hands down.
Great song.
Yeah, Marcos is awesome, and if you want to do something awesome for Marcos, go check out his GoFundMe. He lost his place in the fire, and we're all been supporting him in that regard. But that's the guitar player from Sugar Cult.
Yeah, sending love to him and his family. I did see that happen. He came on our show years ago actually, and
he's a good guy.
Yeah, Sugar Cult, Bouncing Off the Walls against Come Back Around by Feeder.
Sugar Cult again.
Sugar Cult versus Every Time I Look For You by Blink.
Oh, you're gonna put me up against Sugar Cult versus Blink? Ah, man. I mean, that's not. I would normally pick Blink, but that's not one of my favorite Blink songs. So I'm gonna see where we end up next. Okay. Sorry, Mark. Marcos versus Mark.
Sugar Cult against Scumbag by Green Day.
Oh, damn it. But Scumbag, that wasn't on Dookie, right? That was the album after.
I think so, yeah.
Like if it had been a song. See, this sucks. You guys are pitting up. But Sugar Cult is like that. Bouncing Off the Walls is such a bop, dude.
Whoa.
Yeah, dude, it's such a bop. Like I'm bouncing off the walls again. Oh,
yeah, man. It's a great
versus
song.
Scumbag. Right? Yeah, that's not on Dookie. Like if it was a song on Dookie, Green Day would have had it hands down. I'm sticking with Sugar Cult. They're breaking through one more.
Okay. Sugar Cult versus Laid by James. We're just dropping some UK in here, but I don't suspect it's gonna.
Well, you're not. You guys, neither one of you's from Manchester. That's that's all right. You won't get offended. I mean, that is the unofficial theme song of all the American Pie movies, and I did cover that song a couple of times.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
But if we're in this pop punk world, I'm pushing through again. But something tells me you've got something that's gonna push out Sugar. But I'm going Sugar Cult one more time, pushing through.
Okay. Yeah, we've got a few left, and I would put a few of these ahead of Sugar Cult, but we'll see what you do. So Sugar Cult.
Don't try and influence a guy. Just let him choose.
Sugar Cult against Swing Swing by the All American Rejects.
I do love the All American Rejects. If it had been Dirty Little Secret, Sugar Cult would have lost. But I'm putting Sugar Cult forward one more.
Okay, Sugar Cult versus Phoebe Cates, Phoenix TX.
Oh yeah, Sugar Cult again.
Okay.
Sugar Cult against Newfound Glory's Forget Everything.
Bounce Off the Walls has done very well, regardless of what happens next.
Yeah, I do love Newfound Glory. Those guys are awesome. I mean, this is hard. Now I'm choosing between semi friends. I mean, I did the end cruise with Newfound and
nice.
And we did like a sideshow when we were young, but I don't want to feel like I'm picking favorites with friends, but I'm gonna go because I can't do what Newfound Glory does. So I don't know. There's something about me that still resonates with Sugar Cult because I feel like I could rip that song in a set, and I almost did actually. Marcos was gonna come to the whiskey and we were gonna jam it.
Oh, sick.
He didn't tell me till the day of. I was like, I can't learn your song today. All right, I'm going. We have more?
We have two more.
Okay, I'm going Sugar Cult one more time.
One more time for Sugar Cult. Okay, Bounce Off the Walls versus Fat Lip, Sum 41.
Oh, damn it. Now you've done it. I'm going Fat Lip. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. There's a band called Eugene Levy. It's not the actor.
I'm aware of obviously the actor and the band. Yeah.
Inside scoop. They haven't announced it yet. I haven't announced it yet.
Yeah.
We've been sitting on it for a while, but we did a collab cover of Fat Lip together.
Oh, nice.
And it's going to be coming out this year. I don't know the release date yet because they're doing a release schedule. I've just been texting with the band, trying to figure out when it's going to drop so that I can help, promote it and stuff. So I'm going with Fat Lip.
Okay,
nice.
But do you want us to announce what you've just said?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, it's okay. I like releasing information early when I shouldn't and breaking all the rules. What's anyone going to do to me?
Exactly.
Get dropped from my label that I don't have. Yeah. My manager and agent, they're done with me. Oh wait, I don't have those.
We have one left. So you've Sum 41 is now got the crown, and last one is the anthem by Good Charlotte.
Dun, 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 dun,
yeah, Nick, he knows how it goes. Yeah, go on, Thomas. Sorry.
I'm going with Sum 41 for two reasons. Number one, Sum 41 just announced their retirement, and I'm super bummed that they couldn't make it one more damn year. They had to stop at 29. Hopefully that means that we get to have 11 Kiss reunion tours of Sum 41 in the future.
Yeah.
Number two, I lost at a charity dodgeball tournament to Good Charlotte because I was with Allison Hannigan, Mina Savari, and Shannon Elizabeth. So it was me and all the girls.
Yeah.
They creamed us. So this is my revenge. I'm choosing Sum 41.
Take that, Benji and Joel. I think that's fair. Yeah, fair enough. Is there any songs from the American Pie soundtracks that we didn't mention that you would have put above all of those?
There's a lesser known song that I love called I believe it's literally called Vertigo parentheses demo.
Okay. We'll have to look that one up.
Do you not know this one? See, no one knows this one, but this song is essentially, in my opinion, a super hidden, just also a bop as well. It's by a band called American Hi-Fi.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Stacey Thingy's band, yeah.
It's literally, it was the demo. That's why it's. Okay. But it was released that way on the soundtrack album, And on, like you can go to Spotify right now and it just says Vertigo parentheses demo.
Nice. Yeah, they're a good band as well.
And it's ironically very similar to Sugar Cult Bouncing Off the Wall, like in vibe, like.
Nice. Right. With that said, we'll let you go. And once again, thank you so much. I'll probably catch you actually at the because I'm just outside of London, so I'll probably catch you at your Dalston show. So look forward to meeting in person.
Yeah, man. Awesome.